Hello everybody and welcome once again to Let's Play Skyrim. Last time when we left off I had just entered the Temple Ancestral Tomb in Raven Rock. We're here with a small little miscellaneous quest to clear out the ash spawn inside on behalf of Elder Othraloth. Shouldn't be too terribly difficult to do. There's an ash spawn skirmisher. From what I can see, they are weaker than immolators. While naturally being stronger than base level ash spawn. And there sure are a lot of them. Completed. Clear the temple's tomb of ash spawn. Tell Elder Othraloth that the tomb has been cleansed. Well, good. We'll do that soon enough. We'll want to search everything we killed first, naturally. This can be kind of hard to do when they're all critters like this. There's a door to the Ulan Ancestral Tomb, which we explored earlier. Requires a key. So I suppose we won't be going in there well, we won't be going back in there. We have already explored it. The tomb is clear. I don't know why I'm still sneaking. Morvain Ancestral Tomb also requires a key. Let's just look around in here. Again, we'll come back for those strong boxes after we get the relevant quest. For now, let's just look through all this good old ash piles. And let's head on back. Not really much to find in here besides all the ash spawn, but hey, they're handled, and that's good. I'd still like to find this attendant Lervu if I can, but I think he's outside right now, so let's just chat with Elder Othrol. Oh, there he is.
Though our spirits may be low,
He's got nothing I need, so let's talk to him.
danger lurks beyond the light. Elder Arthroloth is grooming me to be his eventual replacement. Soon I'll be running the temple my way. If they desire salvation, the citizens of Raven Rock need to open their eyes and their pockets.
The sentence that we cut off was, "Excuse me, but the temple is for followers of our faith alone. Outsiders aren't welcome here."
There's something you need.
Do you know someone called Mirak?
Mirag. It sounds very familiar. Not someone here, but I'm not sure I can recall.
Is he someone you know or not?
I can't be sure. I know I've heard that name, but it doesn't feel real. Does that make any sense? Non-believers are never welcome here. The reclamations herald the dawn of a new age and the downfall of the false tribunal.
Do you know someone called Mirak?
Sounds like something.
Oh, we've heard this
remember
already.
the temple on Solstar.
The temple's tomb has been cleansed.
Spirits be praised. I'm hoping you didn't suffer much at the hands of those foul beings. Please, accept this as a token of my thanks.
2,000 gold added. Completed. Tell Elder Othraloth that the tomb has been cleansed. Now, the creation kit refers to that quest as Clean Sweep. So it's finished, and I will take it off of the quest list. Good times.
May Azura, Mafala, and Boethia guide you.
And we will head back out to Solstheim, Raven Rock proper. Let's just keep making our way up the street. Let's try the Morvain Ancestral Tomb now with its expert lock. I think this is going to be very similar to the Ulan Tomb in that we aren't really going to find anything. But it's always worth checking, right? Of course. Even less in here if that's possible. There's the door back to the temple tomb. And that appears to be it. Alright. In that case, let's head into Morvain Manor across the street. Where we can find, well, maybe a bunch of stuff. Let's see. Looking around. Being cautious because this is all stealing. We've got some Felsod Turn feathers, which are a new ingredient. We'll just chow down to learn the effects, which are Restore Health, Fortify Light Armor, Cure Disease, and Resist Magic. With that, Felsod Turn feathers are off of my alchemy list. Cool. Now, before really going anywhere else, or leaving this room, let's see what else is in here. Words of the Wind is a new book. Let's read it and take it off the list. Words of the Wind. This is a volume of verse collected from Ashlander wise women. May I shrink to dust as from the Ahamusa Ashlanders of the Grayslands. May I shrink to dust in your cold wild wastes, and may my tongue speak its last hymn to your winds. I pray for the herder that whistles to his guar at play. I pray for the hunter that stalks the white walkers. I pray for the wise one that seeks under the hill, and the wife who wishes for one last touch of her dead child's hand. I will not pray for that which I've lost, when my heart springs forth from your soil like a seed, and blossoms anew beneath tomorrow's sun. Alrighty. Let's look around here. Got some more books here. The Poison Song, Book 1 and Book 2, both of which we'll read and take off the list. The Poison Song, Book 1 by Briston Zell. It was beginning again, even though everything seemed serene, the last embers crackling in the hearth, young servant girl and her child slumbering in a chair by the door, a tapestry half finished against the wall, waiting to be completed tomorrow, one of the moons visible through a milky cloud outside the window, a lone bird out of sight in the rafters cooing placidly. Tay heard the first chords of the song strike dissonantly somewhere far away. The bird in the rafters croaked and took flight through the window. The baby in the girl's arms woke and began to scream. The song swelled in intensity, yet still remained subtle and stately in tempo. The movement of everything seemed to take on the rhythm of the music as if strange choreography had been staged. The girl rising to the window, the clouds reflecting back red from the inferno below, her scream, all muted, consumed by the song. Everything that came thereafter Tay had seen so many times it had almost ceased to be a nightmare. He did not remember anything of his life before coming to the island of Gorn, but he understood that there was something different in his past that set him apart from his cousins. It wasn't simply that his parents were dead. His cousin Baynara's parents had also died in the war. Nor were the other housemen on Gorn or nearby Mournhold unusually cruel to him. They treated him with the same polite indifference that any Indral has for every other 8-year-old boy that got underfoot. But somehow, with absolute certainty, Tay knew he was alone. Different, because of a song he always heard, and his nightmares. "You're certainly imaginative," his Aunt Elia would smile patiently before waving him away so she could return to her scriptures and chores. "Different? Everyone in the world thinks they're different. That's what makes it such a common sentiment," said his older cousin Calcorith, who was studying to be a temple priest and had a firm grasp on paradoxes. "If you tell anyone else that you keep hearing music where there's no music to be heard, they'll call you mad and bury you in the shrine of Sheogorath," his Uncle Triffitt would snarl, before striding away to attend his business. Only his nursemaid Edaba would listen to him seriously and just nod with a faint look of pride, but she would never say another word. His cousin and chief playmate Baynara was by far the least interested in the stories of his song and his dreams. "How tiresome you are with all this, Tay," said Baynara, after lunch in the summer of his 8th year. He, she, and a younger cousin Vaster walked into a clearing in the midst of flowering trees. The grass was very low, barely up to their ankles, and there were big black piles of leaves from the previous autumn. "Now, shall we get back to it? What shall we play?" Tay thought for a moment. "We could play the Siege of Orsinium." "What's that?" asked Vaster, their constant companion, 3 years their junior. Orsinium was the home of the orcs off in the Rothgarian mountains. For hundreds of years it kept growing bigger and bigger and bigger. The orcs would come down out of the mountains and rape and pillage all over High Rock. And then King Joil of Daggerfall and Gaiden Shinji of the Order of Diagna and someone else, I forget, from Sentinel, all joined together against Orsinium. For 30 years they fought and fought. Orsinium had walls made out of iron, and try as they might, they couldn't break through. "So what happened?" asked Baynara. "You're so good at making up things that never happened. Why don't you make it up?" So they did. Tay was the king of the orcs, perched up in a tree they called Orsinium. Baynara and Vaster played King Joil and Gaiden Shinji, and they threw pebbles and sticks up at Tay while he taunted them in his most guttural voice. The three decided that the goddess Kinnereth, played by Baynara in dual role, answered the prayers of Gaiden Shinji, and drenched Orsinium in a torrent of rain. The walls rusted and dissolved. On cue, Tay obligingly fell from the tree and let King Joil and Gaiden Shinji mangle him with their enchanted blades. For the most of that summer, the year 675 of the First Era, Tay was nearly insensible by the power of the sun. There were no clouds, but it rained most every night, so the vegetation on the island of Gorn was bewildering lush. The stones themselves seemed to glow with sunlight, and the ditches burned with white meadowsweet and parsley down. All around him were soft smells of flower and tree, untroubled by wind. The foliage was purple-green, blue-green, ash-green, white-green. The wide cupolas, twisting cobbled streets, and thatched roofs of the little village of Gorn, and massive bleached rock of Sandal House all were magical to him. Yet the dreams haunted his nights, and the song continued whether he was awake or not. Against Aunt Elia's admonishments, Tay, Baynara, and Vaster had breakfast outdoors every morning with the servants. Elia would hold an interior breakfast for herself and any visiting dignitaries. Guests were rare, so she often ate alone. At first the servants would dine in silence, attempting gentility, but they broke down and would regale the children with gossip, reports, stories, and rumors. "Poor Arnile is laid up with a fever again. I'm telling you, they're cursed, the whole lot of 'em. Piss on the ferry and they piss right back on you. Doesn't little Miss Starcia look, just a wee bit tight around the belly region lately? She's not." The only servant who didn't speak at all was Tay's nursemaid, Edaba. She wasn't pretty like the other maids, but the scars on her face did not deform her. Her poorly set broken nose and her short hair gave her a certain alien mystique. She would merely quietly smile at the gossip and look at Tay with almost frightening love and devotion. One day after breakfast, Baynara whispered to Tay and Vaster, "We have to go to the hills on the other side of the island." She had used such imperatives before and always had something wonderful to show. A waterfall tucked away behind ferns and tall rocks, a sunny grove of figs, a discreet still some peasants had set up, a sickly oak twisted into a kneeling human figure, a collapsed stone wall that they imagined was thousands of years old, the last refuge of a doomed princess they named Morella. The three walked across through the forest until they came to a clearing. A few hundred feet beyond, the meadow sank to a dry creek bed filled with small, smooth stones. They followed that into the dark woods where trees canopied high over their heads. Sporadic red and yellow blossoms burst along the moist underbrush, but they became rarer and rarer as the children marched on under the umbrageous oaks and elms. The air crackled with birds ticking a staccato choral piece, a minor chord of the song. "Where are we going?" asked Tay. "It's not where we're going, it's what we're going to see," replied Baynara. The forest surrounded the three children completely, bathed them in its tenebrous hues, and breathed on them with wet chirrups and sighs, it was easy for them to imagine that they were within a monster, walking along its twisted spine of stones. Baynara scrambled up the steep hill and peered through the thick mass of shrub and tree. Tay lifted Vaster out of the creek bed and climbed out, gripping soft grass for support. There was no path through the forest here. Brambles and low-hanging branches struck at them like the claws of chained beasts. The cries of the birds became ever more stentorious, as if angered at the invasion. One limb drew blood on Vaster's cheek, but he didn't cry out. Even Baynara, who could pass like an ethereal creature through impenetrable forests, had a braid catch on a bramble, ruining the intricate pattern a servant had woven hours before. She paused to pull out the other braid so her bright, unruly tresses fell freely behind her. Now she was something wild, a nymph guiding the other two through her woodland domain. The song began to beat like a wild pulse. They were on a shelf of stone below a cliff overlooking a tremendous gorge, staring over an expanse of cinder. It looked like the scene of a tremendous battle, a holocaust of fire. Charred boxes, weaponry, animal bones, and detritus too annihilated to be identifiable littered the ground. Speechless, Tay and Vaster stepped into the black field. Baynara smiled, proud that she had finally found something of true wonder and mystery. "What is this place?" asked Vaster at last. "I don't know," Baynara shrugged. "I thought at first that it was some kind of ruin, but now I think it's a junk pile, just not like any junk pile I've ever seen. Just look at this stuff." The three began an unorganized survey of the dusty mounds of refuse. Baynara found a twisted sword only lightly blackened by flame and began polishing it to read the inscriptions on the blade. Vaster amused himself by breaking brittle boxes with his hands and feet, imagining himself a giant of unbelievable strength. A battered shield attracted Tay. There was something about it that reverberated with the sound of the song. He pulled it out and wiped its surface clean. "I've never seen that crest before," said Baynara, looking over Tay's shoulder. "I think I have, but I don't remember," Tay whispered, trying to conjure the memory from his dreams. He was sure he had seen it there. "Look at this," Vaster cried, interrupting Tay's thoughts. The boy was holding up a crystal orb. As his hand moved over the surface, brushing away grit and dust, a key in the song rose which sent a shiver through Tay's entire body. Baynara ran over to look at Vaster's treasure, but Tay felt paralyzed. "Where did you find that?" she gasped, gazing into the swirl beneath the crystal surface. "Over in that wagon," Vaster gestured toward a heap of blackened wood, barely discernible from the other piles but for its cart spokes. Baynara began digging into the half-collapsed structure so only her feet could be seen. The song built in potency, sweeping over Tay. He began walking toward Vaster slowly. "Give me that," he whispered in a voice he could barely recognize as his own. "No," Vaster whispered back, his eyes locked on the colors reflected in the heart of the globe. "It's mine." Baynara dug through the remains of the wagon for several more minutes, but she could find no treasures like Vaster's. Most everything within was destroyed, and what remained was commonplace by any standards. Broken arrows, armor shards, guar bones. Frustrated, she pulled herself out into the sunlight. Tay was alone at the edge of the great gorge. "Where's Vaster?" Tay blinked and then turned back to his cousin with a shrug and a grin. "He went back to show everyone his new plunder. Did you find anything interesting?" "Not really," said Baynara. "We probably ought to get back home before Vaster tells them anything that'll get us in trouble." Tay and Baynara started the walk back at a quick pace. Tay knew that Vaster would not be there when they got back. He would never be returning home again. The crystal globe rested snugly in Tay's satchel, hidden under a pile of junk he had picked up. With all his heart he prayed for the song to return and drown out the memory of the gorge and the long, silent fall down. The boy had been so surprised he hadn't even time to scream. And here, of course, is The Poison Song Book 2, which we'll take off the list and read. The Poison Song Book 2 by Briston Zell. Tay felt no guilt, which frightened him. All through the long, fast walk away from the gorge, through the woods, across the dry creek bed, he chatted merrily with Baynara, fully aware that he had just committed murder. Whenever his mind strayed from the conversation, and he thought back on the last moments of Vaster's short life, the song would soar. He could not think of the boy's death, but Tay knew he was responsible. "You're a mess," cried Aunt Eulalia the moment she saw the two children emerging from the woods onto the grounds of Sandhill House. "Where have you been?" "Didn't Vaster already tell you?" asked Tay. The scene played itself out as Tay knew it would, every dancer in the song performing their steps as choreographed, Aunt Eulalia saying that she had not seen Vaster, Baynara, not yet frightened, making up an innocent lie about the threesome not having strayed far, saying he must have gotten lost. a slow but steady rhythm of panic intensifying as night began to fall and Vaster had not yet returned. Bainara and Tay, tearfully, he was surprised how easy it was for him to cry without feeling, admitting where they had been, and leading Uncle Triffith and a crowd of servants to the junk pile and gorge. The tireless search through the woods as night turned to dawn, the weeping, the light punishment merely cries of anger that Bainara and Tay suffered for losing their young cousin. It was thought from their stricken expressions that the children felt guilty enough. They were sent to bed at dawn while the hunt through the woods continued. Tay was drifting to sleep when his nursemaid Ediba came into his room. The look of unwavering love and devotion had not left her eyes, and he sank gratefully into his dreams and nightmares with her holding his hand. The song wafted almost imperceptibly through his consciousness as he again had the vision of the room in the castle, the girl and her baby, the bird in the rafters, the dying fire, the sudden explosion of violence. Breathless, Tay opened his eyes. Ediba was stealing out the door, softly humming the song to herself. In her hand was the crystal globe from his satchel. For a moment he hesitated, about to cry out. How did she know the song? Was she aware that he had murdered another boy to get the globe? Somehow he knew that she was helping him, that she knew all and loved him and sought only to protect him. The next day and the next week and the next month were all the same. No one spoke very much, and when they did it was to suggest new places to look for the missing boy. Everywhere had been searched thoroughly. Tay was curious why they never looked in the gorge, but he understood how inaccessible he was. A side effect of Vaster's absence was that the tutorial lessons with Kenna Gafrisi took on a more serious, even academic quality. The younger boy's high spirits and meager attentiveness had always cut the lessons short, but sensible Bainara and quiet Tay were ideal pupils. He was particularly impressed by how focused they became during a rather dry history lecture about the heraldic symbols of houses of Morrowind. The crest of the Flalu features a scale, he sniffed disdainfully. They see themselves as the great compromisers, as if that were something honorable. Many hundreds of years ago, they were the tribesmen following Resdain who chose. Pardon me, Kenna, asked Bainara, but what is the crest with the insect on it? You don't know House Redoran? Asked the tutor, lifting up one of the shields. I know you have a sheltered life on Gorn, but you're surely old enough to recognize. Not that one, Kenna, replied Tay. I think she means the other crest with an insect. I see, nodded Kenna Gafrisi, brow furrowed. Yes, you would be too young to have ever seen the crest of the sixth house, the house of Dagoth, our enemies, together with the accursed heretical Dwemer in the War of the Red Mountain, now totally destroyed, thanks be to Lord, Mother, and Wizard. That house was a curse on our land for millennia, and when at last their pestilence was snuffed out, the very earth itself breathed a cloud of fire and ash in relief, bringing night to day for over a year's time. Bainara and Tay knew they could not speak, but they exchanged knowing glances at one another as the tutor enlarged on the theme of the great wickedness of the Dwemer and the House Dagoth. As soon as the lesson ended, they walked silently out of Sandil House until they were far from all ears and eyes. The afternoon sun stretched out the shadows of the spear-like trees surrounding the meadow. Off in the distance, they could hear the sounds of the workers beginning their preparations for the autumn-tide harvest, yelling to one another unintelligibly in coarse and familiar accents. That was definitely the symbol on that shield you found at the garbage heap, Bainara said at last. Everything there must be a remnant of the House Dagoth. Tay nodded. His mind was on the strange crystal globe. He felt a light vibration of soundless music touch his body and knew he was discovering a new cadence of the song. Why would our people have burned and discarded all that? He asked thoughtfully. Do you think the House Dagoth was so evil that everything associated with them could have been cursed? Bainara laughed. At the height of day, all talk of curses in the evil sixth house were pure supposition, something to add romance to one's life, but nothing to worry about. The two children walked back to the castle for yet another in a series of cold, quiet dinners. As the night fell, Bainara looked through the treasures she had picked up in the junk heap. By the light of the moons, the small jars, the torque with orange gemstones, the bits of tarnished silver and gold of no obvious purpose, all took on a sinister aspect. Revulsion overtook her feeling of admiration instantly. There was a strange energy to them, a tincture of death and corruption that was undeniable. Bainara ran to the window and vomited. Looking out to the dark open lawn below, she saw a figure below lighting an arrangement of candles in the shape of a large insect, the symbol of the House Dagoth. When it looked in her direction, she pulled back, but she saw the face illuminated by the tallows. It was Ediba, Tay's nursemaid. The next morning, Baynara left the castle grounds early, bearing a large sack filled with her treasures. She carried them to the dumping ground and left them there. Then she returned and told her Uncle Triffith what she had seen the night before, leaving out only what had made her sick in the first place. Ediba was banished from the Isle of Gorn without discussion. She wept, begging to be allowed to say goodbye to Tay, but all believed that would be too dangerous. When Tay asked what had become of her, he was told she had to return to her family on the mainland. He had grown too old for a nursemaid. Baynara never told him what she knew, for she was afraid. Alrighty. As we head over here, there are more Felsod Turn Feathers, Bone Part 1 and 2, books we've read. We've read the history of Ravenrock. We've read the Red Year. Here is Laryl Morvain. He doesn't have anything we need, so let's talk to him.
On behalf of House Redorin and as Councillor of Ravenrock, I bid you welcome.
Missed his first sentence, but...
Don't let the states of Ravenrock fool you. Our desire for Ravenrock's return to its former glory is as strong as the bulwark itself. Whether you're simply visiting or staying here, I think you'll find our citizens will welcome you with open arms. My doors are open if you wish to discuss matters involving Ravenrock. Second Councillor Adrano can assist you with anything you might need. My doors are open if you wish to discuss matters involving Ravenrock.
Do you know someone called Mirac?
Do I? What a strange thing. It sounds so familiar, and yet I cannot place the name.
Can you tell me anything about him?
I'm not even sure. I can picture a temple here on Solstheim. Must have been a bad dream.
The sentence we cut off, by the way, was anything you can contribute to Ravenrock will be greatly appreciated and rewarded appropriately, of course. Do you rule all of Solstheim?
Solstheim is theoretically under my rule, but without revenue from the mine, I lack the resources to actually govern anything but Ravenrock itself. Not that there's much beyond the confines of our town anyway.
Ravenrock the only settlement on the island?
Well, there's a small enclave of Nords to the north in Skarl village. They pretty much keep to themselves, and we both like it that way. Then there's Tel Mithrin to the east. The Telvanni live out there. Sort of a strange lot. But since we're both from Morrowind, we get along. Other than that, Solstheim is crawling with bandits and Reeklings. But that's to be expected living in a frontier like this.
What is House Redorin?
You've never heard of House Redorin? We're the mightiest of the great houses, and we lead the council, the ruling body of Morrowind.
Council? You mean there's no Jarl?
This isn't Skyrim, Outlander. A group of powerful and influential Dunmer families have been ruling Morrowind for millennia. They embody a council made up of 5 great houses: Telvanni, Dres, Indoril, Sadras, and Redorin.
But you said Redorin leads the council.
Well, of course. With 4 other houses on the council, someone has to keep the rabble organized. Our house leads the council by virtue of our preeminence in battle, wisdom, and ancestral glory.
Sounds rather complicated.
Yes, I imagine it would to someone not of our people. If you're interested in pursuing the subject, help yourself to any of the historical volumes in my library.
What happened to the mine?
It used to be one of the richest ebony mines in Morrowind, but it dried out years ago. Now, we're barely holding out here. Without the mine, Ravenrock doesn't feel like it can last much longer. My doors are open if you wish to discuss matters involving...
Which I've done without...
Alright, let's look at Sindiri Arano's inventory.
He's the closest thing I've had to our brother, and we all owe him our lives. Am I to suddenly turn my back?
I'm sorry, my love. It's this island. It's never felt the same since we left Vardenfell. It's as though a part of me is missing.
Every Dunmer left a piece of themselves behind when they departed our homeland. All we can do is make the most of what we have. Your visit here will be tolerated as long as you abide by our laws. Otherwise, you'll answer to the Redoran Guard.
You know who Mirak is?
I'm unsure. I swear I know the name, but I cannot place it.
About our food stores.
Can you tell me anything about him?
I don't think so. I'm not.
Afraid we might run out.
The name has something to do
I'll
with
speak with Garen and see if we can
Earthstone.
increase the crop production this
I'm
season.
not sure what.
Sorry, Sinderi. I fear we'll be feasting on ash yams a bit more often this year.
Alright, let's talk to Sindiri.
You look able to venture outside of town. Perhaps you could help me recover something precious that was lost.
Will we have enough?
You aren't here with bad news regarding my husband, are you? I couldn't bear it.
Once again.
It's been a long time since I walked the ashlands of Vardenfell.
Personal treasure.
I miss it terribly.
Your coppers are running low.
Perhaps our town isn't as grand as Mournhold, but it's our home, and we must make the most of it.
It doesn't matter, Adro.
You mentioned that you lost something?
A few months ago, I had sent an important folio to the first edition bookshop in the Imperial City to be rebound. They sent it back to me recently, but it never arrived.
Was it aboard a ship?
Yes, the Strident Squall, or something like that. The damn thing sunk right off the coast of Solstheim. Can you imagine?
How do you know?
One of the sailors survived. Poor thing crawled all the way to Raven Rock on his hands and knees. Before he died, he told the Redoran Guard about the wreck and warned us that it was going to be crawling with reavers.
I'll see if I can find the book for you.
Thank you. You have no idea how much it hurts losing such a precious heirloom. My husband is second counselor, so I certainly have the means to reward you if you find my folio.
Locate Sindiri's folio from the wreck of the Strident Squall. Sure.
Need something?
Do you know someone called Mirak?
Why does that sound so familiar? There's no one here by that name, and yet I swear I've heard it.
Where did you hear the name?
I don't know. It almost feels like a dream. Something about a temple on the island.
Who's your husband?
Admiral Arano, second counselor of Raven Rock. How I hate that title. Damn fool's going to get himself killed over it someday.
You worry much on your husband's behalf.
He's in grave danger, and yet he continues to place himself in harm's way. When I fall asleep at night, all I can do is hope he'll still be there when I awaken. This island was never meant for us. There's too much death here.
Perhaps you should return to Morrowind.
I assure you, if I could convince Adril to do that, I'd be on the next ship back to Blacklight. Unfortunately, Adril and Councillor Morvain are very close friends, and they will never abandon one another, despite my feelings.
You haven't told him how you feel?
I'm the wife of a second counselor, and certain things are expected of me. The most important thing is that I stand by Adril no matter how I feel, and I intend to do that until we get off this miserable rock.
Where are you from originally?
Adril and I lived in Blacklight, the capital city of Morrowind. House Redoran has improved Blacklight substantially over the last 1,000 years. Its grandeur rivals that of Mournhold itself. The root spire where the Council of Great Houses meet is something to behold.
It sounds like quite a sight.
I haven't seen the city in over 50 years. Even for a Dunmer, that seems like an eternity. Regardless, I hope to return there someday, which doesn't seem likely given my husband's commitment to Councillor Morvain. My husband is second counselor, so I...
Alright, now let's check the Morvain Manor chambers before we head out and keep exploring. We've read Poison Song Book 2. There's one of those. We'll deal with it after we get the quest. This is just chitin armor. History of Raven Rock we've read. Ah, but here are some notes. Adril's survey results. on my notes list, so we'll take it off and then read it. Counselor Morvain, below are the results of the survey you requested. The bulwark needs extensive repair. Ash is beginning to seep through the cracks inside the barracks and weakening the structure. Repairs to the docks have been completed. We can now accommodate 2 ships at once if need be. We've lost a total of 26 Redoran Guard in the last 2 years. We've seen 10 replacements in the last 5. There's been no improvement in the condition of the water around the island. While there are fish still present, there are nowhere near enough to sustain us as a fishing town. As you can see, we are in desperate need of relief. Sorry to be the bearer of such bad news, but I'm only doing as you requested. Adril. House Redoran's reply. Another note we can read and remove from the list. Counselor Morvain, while I appreciate the urgency of the situation on Solstheim, I'm afraid that I can't approve the request for supplies and funds at this time. This is nothing personal, Laryl. Your island is one of 74 outlying settlements of Morrowind at this time. House Redoran must rank these outposts in terms of economic and strategic importance. We have limited coin in our coffers to send to these settlements, so we have to decide which ones take precedence. Unfortunately, Solstheim is very low on the list. I'm doing everything I can for you. All I ask is that you hang on a little longer. Dralis Rorlin, Council Member, House Redoran. We've read those already. And that appears to be it for in here. Now let's head on out. And we'll just keep exploring the town. It's pretty small. It's more Falkreath or Morthal size than one of Skyrim's 5 major cities, but
he'll set you up with whatever you need.
Next, we'll talk to one of the few non-Dunmer in town, Glover Mallory, who I think I do need his house key, so let's snag that and then talk to him.
You haven't seen Cresius Corellius, have you? That foolish old man's taken my pickaxe again.
Why all the fuss over a simple pickaxe?
No. This isn't just your run-of-the-mill pickaxe. I'm talking about an ancient Nordic pickaxe. They don't exactly grow on trees, you know.
Can't you just get the guard to find Cresius?
I prefer to handle these things on my own. Look, if you see Cresius, tell him to give me that pickaxe back, and I'll pay you for the trouble.
Retrieve the ancient Nordic pickaxe. Let's get his one-liners
Tell
now.
Cresius he better give that pickaxe back to me, or else. Find my pickaxe yet? Glover Mallory's the name. If you're looking for a smith, you found one of the best. Either you're here to get showered in sparks, or you're looking for something to buy. Out with it. Steel, dwarven, ebony. If it's broken, I can mend it. A lot of folks around here look to strangers for help. I hope you won't disappoint them.
I noticed the shadow mark by your door.
Well, it's been a long time since someone from the guilds bothered to make their way out here. So tell me, how's my brother Delvin? Still spending his nights at the Ragged Flagon trying to win Vex's heart?
He's well.
Good to hear. Tam Layabout never even bothers to send his own flesh and blood a letter saying how he's doing. Can you imagine? Anyway, I suppose you're looking for work. Well, I got bad news. This place is drier than a damn bone.
Nothing at all?
Eager to make some coin, eh? That's the spirit. I'll tell you what. The guild's got a problem out here that I've been trying to deal with for years, but haven't been able to handle.
The Thieves Guild has a problem out here?
Don't look at me like that. I'm all alone out here, with no one to watch my back. And besides, it's really my problem anyway. I caused it.
What did you do?
A fellow Breton who went by the name Esmond Tyne showed up on my doorstep about a fortnight ago. He noticed the shadow marks like you did, and I thought he was one of us.
He stole something from you, right?
That he did. Right out from under my nose. Can you believe it? It's my own formula for improved bone mold. Took me years to perfect.
Where's Esmond Tide now?
Well, before he ran off, he was talking some nonsense about trying to fence goods to the Reeklings at Castle Karstag. I told him he was crazy to even think about talking to those vicious little buggers, but he wouldn't listen. I'd bet a fat purse of coin that he's either dead or hiding out up there.
I'll get that formula back for you.
You do that, and I'll make sure you're set up right. You won't be disappointed.
Recover the bone mold formula for Glover Mallory. Do you know someone called Mirak?
No, wait. Maybe. I don't know how I know that name.
Which is it, yes or no?
I'm not sure. I don't want to talk about this.
How did you end up in Raven Rock?
A fine question, and the one that I hear most often from visitors to our town. I wish I had a more romantic tale to tell, but I was simply seeking my fortune and chose Raven Rock to ply my trade. Besides, knowing how to repair bone mold armor wasn't very useful in Riften.
Who taught you that?
I had a friend over there, a dark elf named Van Ryth, a very talented armor smith. Spent a lot of time with the guy swapping smithing techniques. Learned a heck of a lot, including how to repair bone mold. After he moved on to greener pastures, I decided to pack up, move out here, and put those lessons to the test. Been here ever since.
What's an ancient Nordic pickaxe?
It's the only tool tough enough to crack Stalrim, is what it is. Not many of those beauties left in the world. Forging them is a lost art. The one Crescius borrowed came from the Skull village up north. I, traded them some goods for it.
Is Stalrim a type of ore?
Calling Stalrim an ore is like calling my forge a campfire. Some folks say it's enchanted ice, but I think there's more to it than that.
I assume it's rare.
I don't think I've come across more than a chunk or two in my lifetime, and smithing's my trade. If you're looking to learn more, you should head over to the Skull village. Someone there's bound to know more about it than I do.
Map updated.
You tell
Awesome.
Crescius he better give that pickaxe back to me, or else.
Before we explore more, let's check out Glover Mallory's house. Two copies of Book 2, which we've already read. History of Raven Rock we've read. That's all good. Red Year we've read. The Axeman we've read. So there's an upstairs and a downstairs. Let's go downstairs first. Door requires key that we don't have. Fair enough. Quest reward, you're probably thinking, and I will tell you that you're right. Let's head upstairs then. Got a chest. Nothing much. We've read The House of Troubles. Got some coin purses. And here's another book, new book, Ozidal's Descent. And this one is brand new. Wasn't in Morrowind either. The Poison Song series was in Morrowind and reappears in this expansion. Here is Ozidal's Descent by Halland Greycloak. In the days beyond memory, when men first walked the lands of Skyrim, there arose in the city of Sarthal a great enchanter. As a boy, his gift for magic and artifice had been evident to his tutors. As a man, his skill surpassed them all. And finding nothing more to learn among his kin, he left wife and child and set out to train under the elven masters. A year became 2, then 3. And when finally his path led him back to Sarthal, he found only ruins, for the elves had sacked the city, and all that lived there were dead or gone. Amid the ashes and the smoldering ruins of his home, he swore a terrible oath of vengeance, and from that comes the name the legends give him, Ozidal, the embittered destroyer. Alone he could do nothing, and so he bided his time, delving deeper into his art than any before him. From the Dwemer he learned the 7 natures of metal and how to harmonize them. From the Aelids, the ancient runes and dawn magic even the elves had begun to forget. Among Falmer and Chimer and Altmer he traveled, taking what he could from each, and all the while plotting how he might turn that knowledge against them. Finally, word reached him of Ysgramor and his companions, newly arrived from Atmora. For 3 days and nights he rode north and met them as they made landfall on the icy coast near the ruins of Sarthal, which the elves had fortified against them. He offered the companions his service and all he had produced in his years of labor. And with Atmoran steel imbued with his enchantments, the elves fell before them, and at last he had his revenge. But he was not content. His craft had become his life, and his hunger for knowledge still gnawed at him, driving him to delve ever deeper. At long last he exhausted the lore of the elves, but it was not enough. He sought the secrets of dragon runes and won for himself a seat among their high priests, but it was not enough. And at length he turned his gaze to the plains of oblivion and found there both power and madness. Some say he ventured there never to return, others that he was betrayed by his fellow dragon priests and killed or driven into hiding in the ruins beneath his beloved Sarthal. Among the Skald of Solstheim it is said he fled to their island and was sealed in the depths of Kolbjorn Barrow together with the last of his relics. But that is the tale as it was told among the bards of Winterhold. Whatever the truth, the legend of Ozidal was intended as a warning. In pursuit of perfection, one must take care that the pursuit itself does not become all-consuming. Investigate Kolbjorn Barrow. Ah, okay. Certainly. That's it for Glover Mallory's house. Got about 15 minutes left. Let's check out the rest of the marketplace. Might need to wait until daytime to do it, but that's okay. Who is this? Drela Allure. Vendil Severin. Let's talk to him first. He's got some unique jewelry, which is interesting. Let's just take his key for now and talk to him.
Vendel Severin. A pleasure to meet you, Serial. Always glad to help, Serial. What can I do for you? We meet again, Serial. Speak your mind. Head over to the wretched. There's something you need.
Do you know someone called Mirak?
Do I? I was going to say no, but somehow I feel like I do. Does that make any sense?
Is he someone here in Raven Rock?
No, I'm sure of that. And yet, I think I had a dream of a temple, and he was there. Pleasant journey, Samuel.
Interesting. Alright, we got a few houses to check out here. Let's wait until daylight. 11 hours. And we'll be able to chat with the Ienths and the Allures and explore their houses. Here's Milor Ienth. I'll nick her key, and then we'll chat with her.
Think you can
Oh, come on now. It's just a key, and I have all the pickpocket perks. There we go. Milor Ienth.
Looking for any potions, ingredients, alchemical supplies? If you're looking for any exotic ingredients, just ask. I might have what you need. My husband Garen maintains our farm. Without him, Raven Rock would likely go hungry. Good morning.
Do you know someone called Mirak?
I don't think so, though it sounds like a name I've heard before.
Can you tell me anything about him?
I hear that name, and I see a temple here on Solstheim. What could that mean?
Where did you learn your alchemy skills?
After we left Morrowind, we found ourselves in Skyrim. We wandered around a bit and ended up in Morthal, where we took up temporary residence with Lami, the town's alchemist. I was fascinated by her work, and over a period of a few years, she taught me quite a bit.
Why did you leave Morthal?
It wasn't long before we became homesick. We were the only Dunmer in Morthal. When word reached us that a settlement of Dunmer was forming on Solstheim, we were thrilled. It's been difficult, but I'm not regretting it one bit. In fact, I'm glad we've been able to stay and help.
How has Raven Rock needed your help?
As you can imagine, the eruption of the Red Mountain took an awful toll on Solstheim. Hunting for game has been scarce, and the waters are apparently too tainted for fishing. According to Councillor Morvain, my husband's been Raven Rock's most important food source for decades.
You're selling quite a few exotic ingredients.
Yes, I'm proud to say that I grow or harvest most of it myself. I only wish I had a better source for netch jelly. Those creatures are difficult to track down since it's so dangerous beyond the bulwark.
I could gather some for you.
That would be splendid. I'd be more than happy to give you something for the effort.
Retrieve Net's jelly from Mimilor Ianth, 3 of 5.
Careful with those netches. They may look tame, but can seriously hurt you with threat.
Here's Miri Severin. She doesn't have anything I need, but let's talk to her.
Always a pleasure to watch when a man like you walks by. It gets lonely out here, you know, on this remote island. Oh, hello. You looking for a handout or something? My father and mother are the richest on the island, and that includes Councillor Morvain. If you ask me, my father knows how to run things better than the Councillor. Need something?
Do you know someone called Mirak?
That's not someone who lives in Ravenlock, I don't think. But it sounds so familiar.
Is he somewhere else on Solstheim?
Maybe. I can't help but think of some sort of temple on the island. Why would that be?
Okay.
I was clear when I loaned Gara them
Here's Slitter.
that I wanted it back.
Keep your
I
hands
work
to
for Mogul. You got a problem, you talk to him. Mogul doesn't lend coin to Outlanders. Look somewhere else. You looking for trouble? Stay out of my way. Haven't you got something better to do? Get away from me, Outlander. Sarah?
Okay, let's chat with Mogrel now.
I'll
Yes,
give you this
Sarah.
warning only once. Stay out of my way, and we'll do just fine. If you're dealing with me, there's only one thing to remember. Pay your debts, or end up hurt.
Yes, Sarah?
I might lend coin to people that need it, but I never lend to strangers, so shove off.
Sarah?
I don't know you, and the last thing I want is a stranger with his nose in my business. Go away. I
Yes,
can tell you
Sarah.
don't like me. Well, guess what? I don't give a damn. Yeah.
Do you know someone called Mirak?
No, wait. I recognize the name, but I'm not sure why.
Tell me whatever you can.
I don't know. I feel strange just thinking about it. A temple, maybe. Here on the island, something about a temple. Fight well.
Let's look at Garen Ianth. Uh-huh.
Don't even think about
Welcome to Raven Rock, Traveler. Could I interest you in any fine ash-grown
Always a pleasure
foods?
to watch when a man
Nick,
like you
my
walks
wife and
by.
I are doing the best we can to keep Raven Rock fed. If you ever need apothecary supplies, talk to my wife, Milori.
It gets
My
lonely
wife's
out
quite the alchemist.
on this
Thanks to her, my ash yams are growing quicker than ever before. Sarah?
Do you know someone called Mirak?
I think so, but I can't remember how I know him. Or maybe I'm wrong. I'm not sure.
Do you know him or not?
I'm not sure. I think so. But the only thing that comes to mind is a shrine near the Earthstone.
What exactly is ash-grown food?
Dunmer have been growing food in the Ashlands for thousands of years. It was born out of the necessity to survive in the harsh climate of our homeland. And now, with the constant eruptions of the Red Mountain, it's more important than ever.
Is magic involved?
No. Only the Telvanni have the ability to weave living growth from the ash. This simply takes the right ingredients, the right tools, and a lot of patience.
Can't get blood from a stone.
Next time you're hungry, stop by. I always have.
That isn't my problem. I was clear when I loaned
Here's
Gara.
Drayla Allure.
I wanted
We
it
need the
back.
Allure house key, so we'll get it from her.
Miserable. Just miserable. Oh, I hate this place. This island's nothing but a pile of rubble. What's the point trying to make a life here? You stuck in Raven Rock too? Horrible, isn't it? If you're looking to purchase something, speak to my father, Fethis. Sarah?
Do you know someone called Mirak?
I think so. But I'm not sure where I heard the name.
Is there anything you can tell me?
I don't know why, but I'm thinking about a temple here on the island. Maybe it was just a bad dream.
You don't like it on Solstheim?
Don't like it. I hate it. Every day it's the same thing. We open the shop, we hardly sell a thing, We close the shop and go to sleep. What kind of a life is that?
Why not return to Morrowind?
Oh, believe me, I'd be on the first ship off this miserable island if I could. But I'm not sure I could do that to my father. I think it would break his heart. We've already lost my mother. I don't want to leave him alone.
How did your mother die?
We lived in a settlement, perhaps a league from the border of Black Marsh, the homeland of the Argonians. Even though the Argonian invasion ended a long time ago, there are still a few scale-skinned clans that live within our borders. To put it simply, they attacked our settlement and slaughtered almost everyone. It was horrible.
You need to talk some sense.
Alrighty.
Keep yourself safe. Solstheim's still a dangerous place.
Let's talk to Fethys Allure now. Yeah. All this unique stuff, by the way, I figured it out. It's stuff that spawned in a fishing job that I skipped or refused. So that's what all of that is.
Want to buy anything, or just laugh at our misfortunes? I'd be on the first ship off this island if I had the coin. What a waste. Yeah, so, what can I get you? Got everything from potions to pitchforks. If you're looking to buy, then I'm looking to sell.
Do you sell any special mining gear?
Mining gear? No. However, I used to sell East Empire pendants until I ran out of them. Popular little item.
What's an East Empire pendant?
It's an amulet that was made exclusively for the East Empire Company. They gave them to their workers as an incentive at one point, a kind of reward for extra effort. They're no longer being made, so they've become a collectible. I'd love to get my hands on a few of them.
Where can you find them?
They could be anywhere on the island. The mines might be a good place to start. If you find any while you're exploring Solstheim, bring them here, and I'll pay you for them.
Locate the East Empire pendants for Fethys Allure in Raven Rock. Do you know someone called
I
Miraak?
think I maybe had a dream about someone with that name.
Tell me about your dream.
It was very strange. Was I building something? A shrine down on the beach near the Earthstone? I'm not sure.
Are sales that bad out here?
Bad? What if I told you that you're the first person that's even considered looking at my wares today? I've half a mind to contact my friends at the East Empire Company and see if they need an extra hand in Windhelm.
You have friends at the East Empire Company?
Oh, absolutely. In fact, I've corresponded with Vittoria Vici herself more than once. You know, the lady who runs the East Empire Company warehouse in Solitude. The biggest warehouse they have in Skyrim.
Okay.
Bah, you're just like the rest of the folks around here. Mark my words. The East Empire Company will return to Raven Rock, and when they do, I'll be at the top of their list.
What exactly do you sell here?
The question you should be asking is, what don't I sell here? Because I have pretty much any supplies you might need. If it's not a weapon, potion, or armor, then it's likely that I have it.
Where did you get all these items?
Jarland, over at the docks, brings me most of our supplies, and the rest comes from bartering with the people in town. Oh, Glover Mallory gets me a few things once in a while. He usually has the most amazing deals that I can't pass up.
Cool.
The East Empire pendants are scattered all over, so leave no stone unturned.
So we got Retrieve Netch Jelly and Locate the East Empire pendants. And here we have Tilisu Severin, who doesn't have anything we need to pickpocket, so let's just talk to her.
My husband Vendel feared visitors would shun Raven Rock. I'm glad to see he was mistaken.
Miserable.
Mayor, always nice to speak to someone from the mainlands. I hope you enjoy
Always
your
a
stay
pleasure
in
to
Raven Rock.
watch when a man like you walks by.
May your path be free from danger.
Do you know someone called Miraak?
Miraak. I'm sure I've heard that name before. Haven't I? Was it in a dream?
There we go.
May your path be free from danger.
Alright. Now let's head into the Ianth farmhouse, so we can quickly explore it. If I run into another book, I'm going to have to stop the video. And in fact, I am going to have to stop the video, because here's the Poison Song Book 3, but I've been going on for an hour, and it's time to stop. This has been Let's Play Skyrim. Next time we'll continue our explorations of Raven Rock. We're pretty close to the end of the town proper. The Raven Rock mine, of course, actually turns into a pretty lengthy dungeon. We'll probably get to that in the next installment. Until then, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoy my videos, please consider clicking an ad, liking, sharing, or subscribing, any or all of which really help me out. Regardless, please know that I really appreciate the time you spend watching, and hope you have a fantastic day. Bye-bye.